It's time that we right these wrongs.
President Biden announces a plan to change how marijuana is prosecuted. We look at what this could mean for Ohio. And I sit down with Senator Sherrod Brown. You'll hear him weigh in on the upcoming election and the fight for power. But first,
We will abolish abortion.
the mission this week for hundreds of people who marched through downtown Columbus. Days later, more people marched for women's rights. The debate over abortion is top of mind in our state right now. Thank you so much for joining us for Face the State. I'm Tracy Townsend. More Ohio women received abortions in 2021, the year before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and several other years. New data from the state health department shows the increase. Doctors performed more than 21,000 abortions. That's up 7% when compared to 2020. The data also shows 60% of abortions in 2021 were performed in the first 9 weeks of the pregnancy. For some context here, the Ohio Heartbeat Bill bans abortions after 6 weeks. Now, right now, that ban is on hold. At the same time, other states are looking at further restrictions on abortion. Missouri, for example, is considering making it a crime for women to travel out of state to terminate a pregnancy. And the state of Texas is looking to crack down on the practice of sending the drugs by mail to people's homes. Could Ohio do the same thing? And if the state tried, would it be legal? 10 TV's Kevin Landers looks into what lawmakers say could happen in November.
Ohio lawmakers won't return to the State House until mid-November, and when they do, anti-abortion lobbyist Michael Ganadakis says there are no plans to introduce legislation to ban the travel of women seeking abortions out of state.
Look, a woman that lives in Toledo or anywhere in Ohio can drive to Detroit, Pennsylvania, and other states, whether we pass something or not, based on how many weeks pregnant they are. So it's unconstitutional to ban travel in between states, and we're not attempting to do that. And I know no one across the street that wants to do that either.
Constitutional law professor Tracy Thomas of the University of Akron says while there is strong indications from the U.S. Supreme Court that travel is protected, the court hasn't said that.
We have some pretty strong statements from the U.S. Supreme Court that there is a right to travel and that you could go to other states, although it's a very underdeveloped area of the law.
Associate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh appears to provide further clarity.
Justice Kavanaugh, in the Dobbs abortion opinion itself, said he thought that the right to travel absolutely protected women who would travel across state lines.
Because of Ohio's abortion ban, the closest options for women are in 3 states. Michigan has found the abortion ban unconstitutional and has chosen not to work with states wishing to prosecute out-of-state women that seek an abortion there. Indiana is another option. It recently passed a ban with some exceptions. The other option is Pennsylvania, although there are limits at 24 weeks gestational age. The governor has signed an executive order to protect abortion providers and those seeking abortions from other states. But what about women who purchase abortion pills online? Ohio Right to Life says it has no plans to restrict them.
We're not naive. We understand that the pill will be able to still come into this state even if we ban abortion. Well, it's impossible to create a state law that would regulate the internet or the postal service delivery, so we're not even going to attempt to do that.
Professor Thomas agrees.
The state's ability to regulate interstate commerce is only if the federal government is not doing so.
And that was Kevin Landers reporting. You know, typically a National March for Life happens every January in Washington, D.C. But now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned and the issue of abortion is being argued on the state level, the marches are happening closer to home. 10 TV's Brittany Bailey was at the march in Columbus this week. And one note on this next report, some of the posters at the march were just too graphic for TV and needed to be blurred.
They stepped off from the State House with a mission and a message.
We will abolish abortion. We are the welfare generation.
And that is exactly why this first ever Ohio March for Life is happening here in our state. Now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, the focus is moving from the nation's capital to our state capital.
Now is our time.
State Rep Jenna Powell took the stage along with nearly 24 state lawmakers at the rally, and their mission was crystal clear. They won't stop with the heartbeat bill, which is now on pause. The goal is to pass the Personhood Act, which would make abortion illegal from the point of conception.
And we will do everything we can to end abortion and make Ohio the most pro-life, pro-family state in the nation.
And we saw that support from college students.
We're here to fight for the unborn and stand up for life from womb to tomb.
And from women who have seen both the pre-Roe v. Wade and post-Roe v. Wade America.
You see the young people, you see the old people. They're all so enthused to be here because they do want Roe v. Wade to continue through the state's legislation. And they just want everything to be how it used to be, that all life is respected.
10 TV's Brittany Bailey reporting. Men and women from all over central Ohio also marched for women's rights over the past week. Organizers say the fight for reproductive rights brings a lot of anger, but also hope.
Especially people that are born into bodies like ours, it's a lot different for us because that was one guaranteed thing we thought we had with Roe. And it's our bodies, and then you hear from politicians and governors that, you know, no, this is the state's body, and that's ridiculous. So probably rage and heartbreak on a singular level, but together, when you're doing an action, it's a lot of togetherness and camaraderie. And, you know, it's hard not to be inspired by that.
Abortion is sure to be top of mind for many voters in our state. We talk with Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown, who says he's advocating for all Ohioans to have access to abortion services.
I'm going to a number of university campuses. I'm Cleveland State and Ohio State, and I'm hearing from a lot of young women. You can see a surge, and young men too, young people overall, but especially young women. A lot more women are registering to vote, and I think they're angry that people that look like me in politics or Mike DeWine are making those decisions about their health and their bodies, and it ought to be hands off. Government shouldn't be involved in that.
Coming up next, Senator Brown will weigh in on the upcoming Senate race. Plus, the candidates for governor take the same stage in Columbus, but not at the same time. Why they won't debate, and we'll talk about the promises they're making as it relates to education in Ohio. Welcome back. The U.S. Senate is on recess until mid-November. We had the opportunity to sit down with Ohio's U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown. He's doing a series of roundtable talks with veterans, stopping by college campuses to campaign and urge young people to vote. I asked him about the race for Ohio's second U.S. Senate seat and the implications for which party will control the Senate.
Elections aren't about, is this candidate liberal, conservative? Most voters don't think in those terms. They think, is this candidate on my side? And I make this contrast with Tim Ryan, who clearly has spent his career fighting for better trade agreements, better tax policy, low-income kids, giving people opportunities, providing jobs. And I contrast that with J.D. Vance, who I really don't quite know what he thinks, because he was a big anti-Trumper, and then when he ran, he decided he was Trump's biggest cheerleader, and he has spent his life with hedge funds and private equity, and I don't really know. And he spent his life mostly outside Ohio. I mean, I knew he mostly grew up here, but I just don't see him tuned in the way Tim Ryan is to the lives and the people in our 88 counties. I mean, Tim's been everywhere. I don't know that J.D. Vance has really paid that much attention to the state.
Democrat Tim Ryan and Republican J.D. Vance are in this race for the seat currently held by Senator Rob Portman, who was elected to the Senate back in 2010 and will retire this year. Ryan and Vance will debate on Monday. 10 TV will bring you a full report when you join us for the news at 11. This week, there were some sharp words between the candidates for governor, even though they will not debate each other. Both are being pressured to reveal their plans for education and childcare. And there is no doubt it's been a rocky start to the school year, as some school districts, including the Columbus City School Districts, face teacher strikes, while others are just trying to keep up with the challenges the pandemic brought them. 10 TV's Kevin Landers explains what the candidates are pledging to do.
He has failed to deliver for Ohio kids.
Democrat Nan Whaley, trailing in the polls to win election as governor, turned a conference about improving education in Ohio to attacking Governor Mike DeWine for failing to debate her about the issues facing the state.
It is disrespectful, not necessarily to me, but to the voters.
As schools look for normalcy following the pandemic,
as governor, how would you address the incredible challenges that our children-serving workforce faces?
A top question for the candidates, how they intend to fix a glaring problem, education readiness. Last year, the Education Department found nearly 2/3 of Ohio kindergartners were not ready for the next grade.
The first goal has to be to make sure that child, when they go to kindergarten, they're up to the starting line.
This is a really personal decision for families. And so making sure that instead of government says fit into our mold, but instead we say we want to fit into yours, family, I think is really important.
DeWine says his administration required all child care providers to be star rated, so parents know which daycares are performing at the highest level or lowest level. He told the crowd he plans to expand the eligibility for publicly funded child care by raising the poverty rate for those who qualify from 130%.
I plan to increase this to at least 150% in our next budget.
We spoke to people who came to listen to the candidates. Many are parents who are concerned how the state is ensuring families can afford child care and increase worker salaries.
I think the average child care worker in Ohio makes about $10.71 an hour.
Others say the state needs to do more to incentivize people to take these important jobs.
The bonuses and things just really aren't working.
With the election nearly a month away, both candidates are trying to give voters an easy choice on who to vote for. Without a debate, we get comments like this.
He won't actually debate me on these issues. He was here an hour ago, and that's the closest we'll get to a debate.
And again, that was Kevin Landers reporting for us. The last day to register to vote is Tuesday. People here in Central Ohio are working to make it easier for you. 10 TV's Ashley Bornanson gives us a look at some of their creative solutions.
From barbershops to breweries to good old-fashioned door knocking. People I talk with say they don't care who you vote for, just vote.
It's just one of those things where everybody has a voice and they deserve to be heard. So if we can help bolster registration and move the needle a little bit to get people out there voting come November, it's the least we can do.
Land Grant Brewing Company is participating in the Every Vote Counts campaign. It's headed by the Secretary of State's office as an effort to encourage Ohioans to use their voice by using their drink of choice.
We have carryout beer that has stickers that reminds people to go to voteohio.org where they can register to vote.
Land Grant is not the only organization working to make the registration process easier for you.
We've all had experiences with voter suppression and just different things that have made us want to be activists about voting.
The organization Rewriting the Narrative says its goal is to make sure Black and minority communities have access to free voting resources. That includes getting people signed up at bars and lounges. The group is also using QR codes to reach a wider audience.
We're trying to kind of break all of the status quos about voting outside of a presidential election. So bringing more awareness to the issues that are going on in Columbus and the people who are going to help represent us the best.
Barbershops across the state are also part of the program aimed at increasing voter registration. Walk into a cut above the rest in Columbus and you'll get a little off the top. And a reminder to do your part.
We're coming out of a pandemic. And voting is very important because it determines on who you put in office that can help our small businesses in our community.
To me, democracy works best when diverse voices can be heard, so we want to see as many people get registered to vote as possible.
Again, that deadline to register to vote in the November election is October 11th. I'm Ashley Bornanson, 10 TV News.
And if you need to check your registration status or find your polling place, we can help you. Our digital team collected everything you need to know before the election. Simply text the word VOTE to 614-460-3345 and we'll send you a link. And with the election just over a month away, you are going to start to see more campaign ads. With many ads you will hear, "I approve this message." But where does that come from? And do politicians have to always say that in their ads? Charlotte Megan Bragg has your Verify fact check.
I'm Ted Budd, and I approve this message.
A line you will hear more and more with the November election right around the corner. A viewer asked, where does that come from, and do politicians always have to say it? For answers, we went to Catawba College political professor Michael Bitzer, the Stand By Your Ad provision of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, and the Federal Election Commission, also known as the FEC. In 2002, the Bipartisan Campaign Finance Reform Act was passed. In it, a provision that requires candidates running for federal office to claim their ads.
It is federal law that all candidates have to acknowledge that if they are paying for this particular ad, they have to claim credit and responsibility for it.
The FEC is very specific about how the message should appear. The written statement must come at the end of the ad, appear for at least 4 seconds, and must be clearly readable. So why is this provision in place?
The belief was that perhaps if candidates have to take ownership of the ad's message, that perhaps it might tone down the kind of negativism that we have seen in attack ads. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case.
Though negative ads are still abundant on TV and social media, candidates have to take ownership if they're the ones paying for it. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
In November, Columbus voters will weigh in on a bond issue that could bring more affordable housing options. The $1.5 billion package includes money for recreation and parks and public utilities. $200 million would go to expanding affordable housing. We're looking at just how expensive it is to rent a house in our state. Union County is the most expensive place to rent in the state. The National Low Income Housing Coalition says a person would need to earn more than $20 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Columbus ranks as the second most expensive for renters. A person would need to earn just under $20 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. That compares to the average statewide hourly wage for renters of $17 an hour. 10 TV's Kevin Landers explains how a local company is making it easier for families to afford rent and so much more.
Apartments like this one in Reynoldsburg were once out of reach for low-wage earners, but not anymore. Thanks to a rental assistance program called Move to Prosper, families can now live here in safer neighborhoods and grow their careers.
Come down, please.
33-year-old Sherilyn Elkins is a single parent of a 4th grader and says until 3 years ago, she didn't know where their lives were going.
Without this program, where do you think you'd be?
The scary part is I don't know.
She's talking about Move to Prosper, a project started by Ohio State that is helping families like Elkert's leave crime-ridden neighborhoods and place their children in high-performing schools.
I was terrified of the neighborhood that I grew up in. My daughter saw 2 shootings, just 2 doors down, 2 separate times. And once she was in the window and another one she was outside playing. The terror that you feel as a parent knowing that you can't do anything in that moment to protect your child.
Move to Prosper helps pay $400 towards rent. The client pays the rest. That's critical in a housing market where more than 20,000 apartments in Franklin County were lost in the $500 to $900 price range and replaced with much higher rents, according to the Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio. Move to Prosper isn't just about rental assistance.
We've helped them find new jobs. We've helped them find new careers.
The program also mandates that clients see a financial planner and life coach during its 3-year program. In July, it graduated its first 10 families. Elkins is one of them.
For those 10 families, we were able to help them, on average, raise their income by 58%, which is about $17,000 over the course of the program.
Elkins says the program not only improved her living conditions, it also improved her financial IQ.
I saved a lot of money by learning how to shop the perimeter as a store. Not only were we eating healthier, but I was also paying more attention to the actual price as opposed to just throwing things in the cart.
Move to Prosper is looking for more clients and plans to add 16 more families next month. You can learn more about the program by going to our website at 10tv.com. Reporting from Reynoldsburg, Kevin Landers, 10TV News.
We told you recently how the student loan forgiveness program works. After the break, we'll explain exactly which loans apply after a recent change to the program. And up next, a survival story. I talk with a woman who beat breast cancer and is now helping others make strides through treatment. The Biden administration has a warning for students ahead of the new loan forgiveness application before that opens up. And this advice is important. Look out for scammers. An email from the administration reminded people to not pay someone who promises relief. The application will be free. Don't reveal account information to anyone who contacts you, and don't refinance your loans unless you completely understand the risks. A recent change to the president's forgiveness plan has some questioning if they're going to be eligible. Untitled and our National Verify team walk us through the change and what it means.
Millions of Americans will soon be able to apply for up to $20,000 in federal student loan debt relief under President Biden's new program. But some people on social media are claiming that a change made by the Department of Education now excludes some borrowers who thought they were getting relief. So let's verify. Did the Biden administration make a change to the student loan forgiveness plan that excludes some borrowers from relief? The answer is yes. The Department of Education changed which loans qualify for forgiveness. Using these sources, I'll walk you through which ones are no longer eligible and why the change was made. Using the Wayback Machine, an Internet Archive tool, Verify compared what the Department of Education website said on September 27th and the 29th. On the 27th, it said that borrowers with privately held federal student loans could receive relief by consolidating these loans into the direct loan program. But now the site says borrowers with federal student loans not held by ED cannot obtain one-time debt relief by consolidating those loans into direct loans. So what does that mean? Well, now people with federal family education loans and Perkins loans that are held by private lenders and not by the Department of Education are no longer eligible for relief. But there's one exception. If these borrowers applied to consolidate their loans into the Department of Education's federal direct loan program before September 29th, 2022, then they're still eligible for student loan forgiveness. The Department of Education says the changes were made to, quote, provide relief to as many eligible borrowers as quickly and easily as possible, and that it's still exploring legally available options to offer relief to Fell and Perkins borrowers. Jessica Thompson, vice president at the Institute for College Access and Success, believes the change in the eligibility reflects the department's concern about a legal challenge from private businesses who hold those loans. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Right now, if you haven't scheduled a mammogram, please do that this week. Yesterday, American Cancer Society had its Making Strides walk, which focused on picking up the pace for screening, diagnosis, and treatment. Nearly 20 years after winning the American Cancer Society's Courage Award, Jean Enstedt's survivor story.
I guarantee you that if I had not had that mammogram done, I would not have had it done. I know myself. I would not be here.
Is one for the books. And get this, she's written one. A Journey of Hope to Heaven and Back tells the saga of her health journey, which includes several heart surgeries and a 2003 diagnosis of breast cancer.
They were debating, do we do the open heart surgery first or do we do the mastectomy? So, here we are deciding which major surgery do we do first. Obviously they did the mastectomy. Did my heart held up well.
Enstedt encourages screening and says the American Cancer Society's Making Strides walk is the perfect opportunity to ensure that others get the message while funding the future of breast cancer research and programs today and in the years to come. Don't forget to schedule your mammogram and call a friend or family member and remind them to do the same. We also thank you for being here with us today, and we wish you a great week.